9% of American adults are now on GLP-1s. 9% in only 36 months. That's the fastest pharmaceutical adoption curve in modern history. And most of it isn't happening through your doctor. It's happening through a website. But here's the part that nobody's actually talking about. 92% of telehealth brands that have launched into this wave, they're gonna be dead in 24 months or less. Not because the market's dried up, the market, it's exploding more than ever. They're gonna die because they were built like the agencies, the doctor networks, the white label, and the pharmacy companies that pitch them. Nice funnel, paid ads, good pricing. I spent the last decade in the trenches of highly regulated commerce. And in the last 3.5 years, I've helped my clients generate over $100 million in trackable revenue in the telehealth space alone. I've helped a client go from 0 to over $8 million per month in the GLP wave. I've seen what works from 0, and I've seen what works at over $1 million per month. And the gap between them is not what your agency or pharmacy partner or doctor white label network told you. So in the next 12 minutes, I'm gonna be answering this one question. If I had $0, 0 list, 0 brand, and I had to launch a telehealth company in 2026, what would I actually do? So let's dive in right now. So problem number one that I see is most operators, they're building from never scaling. Now, what does this mean? It means you've never actually built or scaled a telehealth business. They're making decisions not just from their own personal experience of not doing it, but they're making decisions based off of all the partners and networks and service providers that they're hiring along the way who have also never done it. So they're making decisions based generally in theory by people who haven't actually done what they're trying to do. This oftentimes looks like I spoke with a white label platform. This generally is like a doctor network or a pharmacy network. And people they're speaking with, those businesses, have never actually been behind a telehealth business spending hundreds of dollars a day, upwards of $100,000 a day on ads. In order to do that, you have to have the right infrastructure in place. It's like trying to win a race without having the right vehicle and the right car. When you watch Formula One cars and Formula One races, they're all driving Formula One cars. When you watch NASCAR, they're all in a certain type of vehicle, a NASCAR race. And when you watch Baja trucks, well, guess what? They're all racing trucks. Can you imagine a Formula One car to a Baja race? It's just not gonna work. The vehicle's gonna break. It doesn't matter how high end it is. So a lot of these white label platforms, they're the wrong platform for what you're trying to do, no matter what that salesperson does or says or pitches you on. The other big mistake that they're listening to is the marketer. They haven't hired a marketer who actually has scaled and solved these problems. So if you're in the 0 phase or maybe a couple patients, you haven't really cracked patient acquisition, that's where a lot of businesses fail, most of them. Or I have some acquisition, but we can't scale. That's another problem, right? The marketer has done something right, but they don't know how to solve those scaling problems. And they can create a lot of additional problems that could be possibly detrimental to the business. And then the other theory that they operate in is the pharmacy. Oftentimes, they're making pure decision of strictly cost. They talk to a pharmacy. They say, oh, we're going to get you the best price. Go work with this white label solution. So the pharmacy then takes their proven pharmacy. Hey, we're the pharmacy for this company. We recommend this white label. And what they don't know is why. Why do they recommend them? Generally, they're getting some sort of financial kickback from this company. They also don't understand what this name drop company, they drop some big name. They don't understand what that company actually had to do to make it work. And just because that name dropped company is using them as a pharmacy doesn't mean that who the pharmacy is recommending you to use in this white label is who that company is using. There's a lot of nuances to this industry. So problem number one in this space is you don't want to build from a position of I've never done this before. It really helps to get on the phone with people that have done this. The other problem is you think you're competing on price when you're actually competing on compliance. Hims didn't beat everybody out on just the creative. They beat them out on staying compliant the longest. That's why they haven't gotten shut down. You know, if you saw MedV, if you don't know who this is, go Google them, go look this up. This company blew up, but what they did is they did a bunch of illegal things. I'm not an attorney, but I'm pretty sure what it was is fraud. They created fake doctors from AI, and then they essentially had those doctors backing this company, which to me, that's a lie. You didn't do that. So they lied about what they did. They created false content, false reviews, false pages, and they lost everything. They lost payment processing. They lost their compliance. They got FDA letters, and that creates a lot of problems. A lot of businesses might be savvy marketers. They then start doing these things, and it's just a matter of time. It's a ticking time bomb until they get popped by one of these regulators. The FDA, FTC, the platforms themselves, which is going to be like Google, Meta, TikTok. And there's a lot that you have to get done right. So I actually work with owners, operators, all different levels to help them. Go look through some of my videos. Just working with me is going to be way less than working with an attorney. You need to do compliantly. Now, it's not legal advice essentially that I'm providing you. It's just what I've learned over the last 3.5 years working with these big businesses who do have six-figure in-house legal counsel to navigate all of the things that you have to do. Or it's a ticking time bomb until they get popped by one of these companies. And then problem number 3, they're concerned with the wrong metrics. So number 1, price. Now, I'm not saying price isn't important. Price matters, but 100% of nothing is still nothing. I'd rather have a slimmer margin at 10 to 20%, but guaranteed that I'm making money on it, than hope that the decision I made out of purely price, as again, somebody who's never scaled, you watching this video who's never scaled, is looking at these competitors and making a decision around price. This is one of the things I see a lot of businesses do and they fail. Now, again, I'm not saying price isn't important. Of course it is. Marketing is just math. Price is one of the most important things in marketing. But if you're making decisions off of price without knowing what all the other things are associated with that, you're going to have a bad time. Additionally, the provider network, well, this one costs less, this one gives us this has these other fees, this one doesn't have this, and they haven't scaled. So the wrong provider network, you're never going to scale. This is probably this alone is the single biggest determining factor of whether you succeed or not. I've operated on over 20. I've only seen 3 of them work. And there's only one of them that I would recommend unless you're willing to spend $45,000 to get attribution set up properly, which is very expensive. Additionally, they're concerned with, as I said, more price associated stuff, but the pharmacy, well, this pharmacy is cheaper than this pharmacy, and it's both of these things. There's white label solutions that will make you money from day one. They'll make you money from day one. But if you focus on only those KPIs around that, the wrong metric, then if you choose any of these based around that wrong metric instead of what the right metric is, you're going to have a bad time. At the end of the day, this is the only thing that matters. If you get this one metric wrong, you will never scale and you will be so fucked. And that's attribution. You're competing in an already very regulated and hard time as an advertiser. iOS 26, the post-cookie apocalypse, all these things have happened. Go watch some of my videos on my channel. I break them down. I've been talking about these things for 18 months now. But then on top of it, you're in the telehealth space where Meta, as of October last year, started restricting data. And if you don't even set up how that data is being shared properly, you're fucked. You're gonna run into problems. If you can't get this, you're not gonna get anything. It doesn't matter what your price is. It doesn't matter what your pharmacy network fee is. It doesn't matter what marketer charges you, what they don't charge you, how much you spend in ads, how much you don't spend. If you don't get attribution, which is simply seeing the journey of the patient from ad to the influencer post to what piece of content they came from, what landing page they clicked on, what intake form they clicked on, then from there, that populating all of that journey, all of those clicks to then go to the CRM and then back to the ads manager compliantly, keyword compliantly. If you don't track all of that, you are literally fucked. And if you aren't willing to spend $45,000, there's one person I've met. I've hired probably 50 people on attribution as a marketer for all these other businesses, all different types of business, not just telehealth, over the years of being a marketer. And you can find people for a couple $100 online. None of them have been able to crack this attribution in the telehealth spaces because it's very tricky. What you have to do is very complex. So you need somebody that can do that and understands how to do it right. So you want to know that you got your attribution done properly and that you have the right network and pharmacy and CRM and site that allow for that. And if you want my team to build the entire GLP-1 stack for your business, including some of these upcoming peptide launches, I'm talking fully compliant, legit script certified, FDA, HIPAA compliant, no FDA letters or lawsuits, proven pharmacy networks, proven white label solutions used by 8 and 9-figure brands that aren't running into any of these problems that I've outlined. I've got a couple different ways that you can work with me. I can coach you on it. I have consulting, and then I have done for you solutions. We build everything out from the ground up and get you launch ready and seeing patients in as little as 4 to 6 weeks. So if that sounds like something interesting to you, knock out the application below and hop on a call with my team. We'll navigate you from there. And if you're a serious investor, I can help you learn a lot of these challenges and consolidate that learning and just the time and money that you spend by hiring and listening to the wrong people. I'm saying it from experience, who's worked on over 50 telehealth brands, many of these companies having billion-dollar valuations, some of them generating over 100 million in revenue in short time frames. So if this video is delivering value, imagine what working with me or one of my programs will do for you. This is just free. I'm giving this to the internet to help people out. So the 3 problems though, those are just the diagnosis. The actual build itself, it runs on a 4-pillar framework. If you get all 4 of these right, you're going to actually have a very high likelihood of not just succeeding, but scaling very aggressively and hitting those revenue numbers that you're investing in this space for. So pillar 1 is going to be the opportunity window timing. So this market moves fast. I remember when I saw tirzepatide hit the market. I started marketing for telehealth businesses in like 2023. Semaglutide was new. I didn't know how to spell the word when I first heard it. And I was like, what the heck is a semaglutide? Talking to one of my clients, and he's like, it's the hottest thing ever. I look it up and I was like, this is every marketer's dream. We immediately started offering it. And then these telehealth companies reached out to us because we were the only agency at the time marketing for that. And right place, right time. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than to be right. I was just lucky at that time. And we got to work on some of the biggest telehealth brands that were wanting to get into that space. So it was just right timing. It was the wild, wild west. And then I remember tirzepatide hit and it was just like a rocket ship, right? Everybody started marketing semaglutide and it started getting more and more competitive. CACs started to rise. You then started to really need like a multi-channel approach, a real digital strategy behind it, proper attribution, all these things that you needed to win were getting increasingly more competitive. And then tirzepatide hit and it was just a rocket ship. The clients that had that, crazy to witness. I mean, actual influencers who had only a couple thousand followers getting hundreds of patient signups for us. Everything was just making money. So the market moves very fast. When these things happen, the GLP wave, it's not going to stay this cash rich forever, but it still makes you a lot of money. So it's still a great time. There's still a lot of acquisition happening. And there's some unique angles working with a sophisticated marketer like myself that you can take to immediately get yourself off the ground and running. I'm not saying you're going to get to $100 million in revenue off just GLPs, but you can still acquire and make money in this space with that. But again, back to what I talked about, how the market moves fast. RFK Jr., he just announced he's going to start recategorizing 14 previously category 1 peptides. If you don't know what that is, I encourage you to go look up the category 2 peptides. And smart operators are positioning themselves for this. So we have a strategy in place. I'm not going to mention it here because that's what people pay me money for. Just the strategy we have to position ourselves for that is worth the $30,000 investment, but that's not all they're getting. They're actually getting a fully compliant, scalable, beautiful, custom telehealth website. That alone is worth $30,000. Then they're getting a fully customized CRM built by me and my team who's scaled businesses to 8 and 9 figures. It's over $20 million in ad spend data. We're building that, proven. You don't need to guess. You're not going to figure it out. It's ready to go. Plug in your ads to it and you're good to go. Just that alone is worth $30,000. But then on top of it, you're getting the consulting and the positioning, which is the opportunity window right here. This is where the money really gets made. Again, you can still make money on the GLP-1 waves. I'm not saying don't get in the GLP-1 base, but be ready to go because as that rocket ship that tirzepatide was when it hit the market, these businesses grew very fast. Now, when these category 2 products are about to re-enter the market, they were in the market For those of you that don't know, we used to market these back a little over 2 years ago, and 2 months ago, the February, I believe, is when the FDA cracked down and pulled all of these. BPC 157 is very hot right now. Retatrutide is actually not a category 2. It's still in the clinical trial, so that one's not going to be on the list if you're thinking that one's very hot. There's ways we can backdoor that too. I'm not saying you should do that, but there's ways to do that, and clients are doing that and making a lot of money on it. That's why people pay me money, to help them make more money and navigate and learn this industry from the ins and outs so that they can make more money on it. There's 14 category 2 peptides that are about to be recategorized over from July till February of this year. And then also regarding the GLPs, summer shred is happening. People are trying to lose weight. So GLPs alone are still hot. Like, those are a main driver. I'm always launching GLPs, but I want to be prepped and ready to take advantage of the full swing of the market, especially when regulatory changes that are coming up. So that's pillar number 1. Pillar number 2 is build the car, then race. Most people get into the race and then find out they have to build the car after. That's classic entrepreneurship. You've seen all those quotes. Entrepreneurship is jumping out of the airplane and figuring out how to build your parachute while you're falling. That's so dumb. Why? Why not just do it right from the start? Why do you have to figure it out? Sounds is months of learning. I've seen low-end people make $30,000 mistakes, upwards of $500,000 mistakes, to not get any patients. If you're seeing this and you don't want to set $30,000 to upwards of $500,000 on fire, build the car first, then get in the race. As I mentioned earlier, showing up to a race with the wrong vehicle. You don't show up to a Formula One race with a Baja truck, and you don't show up to a Baja race with a Formula One truck. You could be the best driver, best vehicle, but you're showing up to the wrong race. And that's what happens, is people select the wrong site, wrong platform, wrong network, wrong CRM, and wrong marketer. That's the driver, is the marketer. I'm the race car driver, and I'm the best. I also learned through this how to market, or how to build the vehicles. So if you need help building the right vehicle, that's what we help with. You must know what works. Pillar number 3 is recurring revenue infrastructure. The average patient spends about $300 per month. For us, our AOV is about $398. What? That's not what I heard. Well, you're probably talking to people that have never scaled. You're probably listening to your doctor network, your pharmacy network, your white label platforms, but you're not listening to a marketer who's actually spent money, millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars. Most of these companies telling you this stuff haven't seen the actual data, what happens when you spend, because there's a lot of people that you could go after, and maybe this is just like how we prefer to market. I'm trying to make clients money, not lose them money. Some of these companies are very well financed. They'll spend $600, $700, $800. I've heard companies spend as much as $900 on the Forbes affiliate page. That's what the number 1 listing is. They're paying out $900 acquisition costs for some of these. That's crazy to me. I would never pay $900 for a patient for any of my clients. So we're focusing on different metrics than a lot of these businesses are, and we break that down for our clients. But you want to have the recurring revenue system in place. $300 a month, and don't just focus on the acquisition. How do we keep them for month and month and month? If we can take them from a 6-month LTV to an 8-month, we've increased our profit pretty significantly. And then from 8-month to a 12-month, we have some clients that have 12+ month LTVs on their patients, because they understand the back end and what systems you need to have in place. So the retention engine for you, it's going to be your CRM. It's going to be customer support. It's going to be retargeting and remarketing campaigns. And a good operator is going to have all this stuff in place, working with somebody like myself to help them provide the resources and network and everything that they need to do this. And then pillar number 4 is going to be resale ready from day 1. What you don't understand is, if you're building a business, why not build it to sell always? Like, that's what one of my business coaches tells me. I spend about 10 grand a month on coaching, masterminds, consulting to get better at what I do, to be the best business owner, and just to improve my skills. And everything he says, he's build everything as if you want to sell it so that one day you can. And I see a lot of business owners in this space, they start building these things. And I've been a part of these businesses that generate over 100 million. They can't exit because they built the foundation wrong. So for you, it's very important to do that right. Those are just very costly mistakes that you don't need to make. So the platform selection is important. And when I say platform selection or white label, I'm talking about the same thing. This is going to be like your white label doctor network or pharmacy network. Who owns payment processing? kills your exit valuation if you don't process any payments. Who owns the patient? So a good exit, once you get to that 8-figure run rate, that's going to be where you can like really get gobbled up. I'm not saying you're going to get to 100 million. Getting to the 8-figure run rate though is easy in this space. It's such a massive market. Just if you had strategic marketing, going after the right people, you can do this right. Think of just the churn of some of these massive companies. Most people are dropping off because they saw an ad somewhere else. They couldn't get customer service. They couldn't get a hold of their doctor. You can build a business just going after the drop off of these massive telehealth brands. So there's so much money to be made. Getting to 6,000 patients, that's it. That's about an 8-figure run rate. Getting to 6,000 patients is easy. Now, I'm not making any financial claims in this. I don't know you. I've never worked with you, but I can tell you what it takes. I've consulted on over 50 of these. I've had conversations with over 200 telehealth business owners or investors looking to get in this space. As done for you marketing, I accept a very small percentage of the clients to work with me. And that's because they don't have that in place. But the ones that have the right things in place, that are willing to get to work, roll up their sleeves, get these things in place that I talked about, getting to that 6,000 patient mark is not hard to do. Now, getting to 100 million, getting to those next levels that a lot of business owners want to get to in this space, especially those well-financed businesses. I'm not saying that you're going to do that. It's a lot of work. Some people might not put that effort in, but there's going to be some massive opportunities coming up when these category 2 prescriptions get recategorized by the FDA. So now that you've seen the actual build, the opportunity window, the timing, the compliance plays, everything that you need to know to build the foundation and actually hit that next level, I want you to check out this video. I break down the blueprint and everything that you need to build an 8 or 9-figure business. There's 9 total things that you need to understand and know. So make sure to check out this video, because if you're not thinking about hitting 8 or 9 figures, what's the point? Honestly, that's one of the big things I noticed too, is people like, I want to get to like 100K per month. I'm like, I wouldn't even try. There's a million other businesses. You can get to 100K per month way easier than telehealth. Like if you're not seeing big numbers, what's the point? You're just going to get destroyed by these companies that are willing to do it right. But if that's your target, it's possible and doable, and now is the time. But you need certain things in place. And once you get those things in place, it's very easy to scale very aggressively.